Hello, I want to welcome you to Think on These Things. My name is Gabriel Etzel, and we are continuing our study through both the Old and the New Testament in our Bible reading plan. We've come to a section of Scripture, started into the last couple weeks, what's called the Minor Prophets. Now, when you hear major prophets or minor prophets, it's not necessarily that what they had to say was not significant. It's partly, in part, just the amount of space that their books take up. And so the major prophets are larger writings. The minor prophets are smaller writings. But I want to draw our attention to kind of a theme that you're going to see. It's not unique necessarily to the minor prophets. It's a theme really that we see within Scripture, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, the whole way through, that hopefully you've picked up on as you've been reading through Scripture. And that is a theme of the heart. Always coming back to where is that individual's heart. Ultimately, I think a question of what do we love? Ultimately, a question of what do we worship? Where is our heart? What's the posture of our heart or orientation of our heart? You see that in a couple passages here in our weekly reading. Hosea chapter 7, verse 14 says, "They do not cry to me from their heart, but they wail upon their beds." The significance of a verse like that, saying, hey, this outward behavior, this outward sign or expression of grief maybe, really isn't coming from their heart. It's just something outward. It's just in their behavior. We see this as well in Joel chapter 2, a couple verses here. Joel 2, verses 12 and 13. "Yet even now, declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, with mourning." Those things are important, but their heart needs to be there. "Rend your hearts and not your garments." It's not just these physical activity, it's where the heart is. "Return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and he relents over disaster." As you read through the minor prophets, certainly be looking for different themes, even look into the context of maybe the writing, what was happening at that time in history as to why these prophets were writing what they were writing. But notice the fact that they continue to come back to the heart. Where is the individual's love or desires, or what are they actually worshiping that becomes so very, very important? It's interesting to me anytime we talk about these themes within Scripture to say, what did Jesus say about these themes as well? And of course, a passage that is very well known as Jesus was asked about what is the greatest law, or, sum up the Old Testament, Jesus, can you do that for us? Jesus in Matthew chapter 22 says to the question, verse 36 of Matthew 22, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law?" And he said, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." On these two commandments depend the law and the prophets. The whole Old Testament hinges upon this idea of loving God and loving others, knowing where your heart is, that we would serve him, that we would love him with every part of our being. Just as the heart pumps blood or life to the rest of the body, spiritually, where is our heart? Because that gives life to everything that we do. So as you read throughout this week, be encouraged, maybe be a little convicted at times if you need that, to say, where is your heart? It's not just outward expression, but it is, where is the orientation or posture of your heart? I want to thank you for joining us for Think on These Things this week. If you'd like more information about the School of Divinity, please visit our website, liberty.edu/divinity. Get information about our courses, our programs, events that are coming up. You also get a copy of the Bible reading plan from the website.